Hello friends and welcome back to the channel. Apple has recently had its Wonderlust event in the United States where the upcoming iPhone 15 Pro Max details were released. Now here in the UK we can start pre-ordering this phone on Friday the 15th of September from 1 PM. This is the case whether you do this directly from Apple through its UK website or through one of the major network carriers with an airtime contract. If you already have an iPhone 14 Pro Max, is it worth upgrading to the iPhone 15 Pro Max? In this video, I am going to review the main differences between the two phones and whether these are enough to warrant an upgrade. Now first, let's start with the design and size. The iPhone 15 Pro Max is slightly smaller due to thinner bezels around the display, but this isn't a game-changing feature. Many of us also use our iPhones in a phone case to protect against drops, and these can cover the bezel anyway. We have got a new design material in the form of a titanium frame. This is lighter and more robust, but I would still use a case. Regarding aesthetics, the brushed raw finish looks better than the steel iPhone 14 Pro Max. Titanium on phones is nothing new. I remember having a titanium Nokia 8910, which looked and felt fantastic back then. The new iPhone 15 Pro Max comes in 4 colors, but the previous gold option that we had on the 14 Pro Max is no longer available on the new phone. We now have a choice of white, blue, and black titanium, as well as a natural titanium option. It seems this raw metal look is back in fashion, but it's not to everyone's taste. If you are the type of person who wants the latest fashion and design, then the design of the iPhone 15 Pro Max will not disappoint you. Regarding buttons, we are losing the mute toggle switch on the left hand side. This is being replaced by an action button, which has to be pressed and held down to mute your phone. It can also be customized to do other functions. This is not a feature that I am particularly fond of. As someone who works in healthcare, I often have to mute the phone at work, and this was previously a straightforward and mechanically quite satisfying way to do it. The switch was also sunk into the phone and needed quite a bit of force to click over, and this protected it against being accidentally switched. It remains to be seen what happens with the new action button. The change is not the end of the world, but it could annoy some users. In the UK, the iPhone 15 Pro Max will still have a SIM card slot, just like the iPhone 14 Pro Max. We're not ready for eSIM only phones in the UK, as many providers still don't provide eSIMs or reserve them for customers who have postpaid contract agreements. We now have a USB Type-C port instead of a Lightning port to charge the phone and for data transfer. Most of the people I know only use this port for charging. One drawback is that all those old Lightning cables you have will now become obsolete, as well as your other Lightning accessories, unless perhaps you purchase a USB-C to Lightning adapter. For transferring files off my iPhone, I personally use AirDrop to my MacBook. I also use this port to allow my MacBook to connect to the internet via the iPhone. The iPhone 15 Pro Max has a genuine USB 3 port, which gives speeds of 10 gigabits per second, which is 20 times faster than the previous Lightning port. If you have the appropriate USB 3 cable, this is said to allow you to record directly from the camera to an external device, such as an external solid state drive. Again, this is something my friends will probably never need to do. Whether this USB port can connect to other hardware, such as a hub, remains to be seen. Remember though, this is not a Thunderbolt port, as you would find on some MacBooks, even though it looks the same. In terms of charging, there is the same 20 watt draw from the charger, 15 watts if you use MagSafe. For most people, the change to USB from Lightning will remain the same in how they use the iPhone daily. Regarding Wi-Fi speeds, the iPhone 15 Pro Max will now support Wi-Fi 6E as standard, as opposed to the iPhone Pro Max which has Wi-Fi 6. This will result in faster and more reliable connections. However, remember you need a router that will support Wi-Fi 6E on the other side, which your new iPhone 15 Pro Max can connect to. You must question whether you need the extra download speed. Typically, I don't download large files on my iPhone, unlike on my MacBook when downloading, uploading and editing large video files. The only exception is perhaps when I preload content on YouTube and other video apps on my phone for viewing later when I have no signal coverage, for example just before a flight. While faster connections are always welcome, you need to have the hardware at home to utilize it, and do ask yourself, do you really need the quicker speeds on your iPhone? The marketing from Apple appears to show the iPhone 15 Pro Max recording a professional movie. However, no mention is made of the microphone, as most serious YouTubers would use a dedicated digital SLR camera with an external microphone. I will run some tests to compare the video and audio performance in a future video, so please like and subscribe to the channel. As for speakers, the iPhone 14 Pro Max already sounds fantastic given the device's size, and I can't see anything changing significantly with the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Let's move on to the display. The iPhone 14 and 15 Pro Max models have mostly the same screens. These are Samsung made OLED panels with the dynamic island cutout on top. They both have 120Hz refresh rates, which is more than good enough, and 2000 nit max peak brightness. This is bright, and you could question whether this level of brightness is ever needed, but you can see the difference if you play HDR videos and watch HDR photos. The screens are both 6.7 inches in size with the same 1290 by 2796 resolution. So there's no need to upgrade here if you want a better screen. New model of iPhones usually mean a change of processor, which has happened with the iPhone 15 Pro Max as well. We now have what's called an Apple A17 Pro, which is a 64-bit ARM-based system on a chip. It gives us 10% faster CPU cores, machine-assisted learning, and a GPU, that's the graphics processor unit, to be able to do ray tracing in hardware. All these technical terms mean that the iPhone 15 Pro Max should be able to run software, such as games, smoother, faster, and with more impressive graphics. However, personally, the only games I've ever played on my iPhone are platformers and puzzle games such as Angry Birds, which can run just as well on my older iPhones. It also seems weird to use a PlayStation 5 controller, which is significantly larger than the iPhone 15 Pro Max phone itself, and then play on a 6.7-inch display. In the good old days, this feels like connecting a VHS player to a Casio portable TV. If you do not have a joypad, you are presented with a virtual joypad on the screen, which only sometimes responds, covers a chunk of your display, and is awkward to use. Most people I see playing games on portable devices appear to be using the Nintendo Switch. Every software I currently have on my iPhone 14 Pro Max works perfectly, and I can't see any reason to upgrade at this moment in time purely based on performance improvements. The camera sensor in the iPhone 15 Pro Max does not appear to have been changed. It's still the big 48 megapixel one we have in the iPhone 14 Pro Max. There is now, however, upgraded image processing, which should mean better detail, better low light performance, and more accurate skin tones. What is new is that the iPhone 15 Pro Max has a new tetra prism lens, which now gives you a 5x optical zoom compared to the 3x optical zoom in the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Whilst many of us do use zoom when taking photos, do we really need 5x zoom? The front camera and ultra-wide cameras are barely mentioned, so they may be the same in terms of hardware, but may have some improvements in image processing. Again, most people that I know take photos on a social basis, and sometimes for newsletters and websites. I can't see them upgrading their phone just for a better zoom. In terms of battery performance, Apple does not tell us battery capacity, so we can only speculate. In theory, the new A17 Pro should be more energy efficient, and this should result in better battery performance. The battery stats for the iPhone 15 Pro Max, in terms of how long it will play recorded video, play streamed video, and audio playback, remains the same as the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Regarding storage, the iPhone 15 Pro Max has no 128GB option and starts at 256GB. Personally, I've always gone for the 256GB, so in summary, if you have an iPhone 14 Pro Max, then I think you already have an excellent phone, and I don't think the iPhone 15 Pro Max will be much of an improvement. Most people I know do not use the phone for pro reasons and use the phone more of a day-to-day device for personal and work use. If you do have an iPhone 13 or lower, it might actually be worth waiting for the iPhone 14 Pro Max to come down in price and upgrade to this already premium phone. If you found this video useful, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Will you be upgrading to the iPhone 15 Pro Max? See you all in the next video.